Do you have a broken radiator? Because I sure do. Alright, so anyways, there's three main reasons that a radiator can break. One reason is that these the tubes right here that run up and down, they can get pierced by road debris, or when you get a car accident and the front like pushes in, it can pierce these tubes and the radiator coolant can leak that way. Or these joining sections where the tank, these are the tanks, and then where it joins the tubes, it can crack right there. It's vulnerable to cracking, especially if it's plastic, like the OEM style. That's two, and the third one is if the plastic itself is cracked anywhere, like around the neck and stuff. So mine is cracked around the, inside the neck, and it's been like that for 5 years. I had a vapor leak, and it gets really bad in the wintertime. In the summertime it's okay because I don't turn on the heater as much. But in the wintertime when I use the heater, the coolant evaporates really fast. And this year it's been evaporating so fast that I had to pull in coolant like every 3 days of driving. So it's gotten really bad, so I just decided to buy this is a dual core, which is 2 rows, dual core full aluminum radiator. I'm glad I have full aluminum because the neck won't crack. So like my old one, it's been cracked for 5 years. What you're going to need is just a few things. Obviously the radiator, the coolant. Make sure you buy like a full size because you're going to need a lot. You're going to need distilled water. Make sure it's distilled because purified water or spring water or tap water, they still have minerals inside, and the minerals can build up, cause buildup into the engine and the coolant pathways. And some people say that it can increase the chance of rust inside the fluid. And yeah, so you want to keep it as pure as possible. And distilled water is very recommended. This is really cheap, it's only 88 cents for 1 gallon. So you should buy like 2 gallons, at least 2 gallons, because we'll be flushing it if you want to flush it. And this is also optional, which is coolant flush. So this is optional. This is only this is a little less than $5 for me, which is a really good deal. So this is really good. Flush and cleaner. When you drain the coolant, you're gonna need a bucket to catch all the old coolant. And when you flush it, you're gonna have to flush like the water too. Alright, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna jack up the car. Then you're gonna want to support the car with jack stands. And then you're gonna remove the other jack. You're gonna pop the hood. So for 6 years, this cap right here, it never gets extremely hot. So right after I drive the car for like an hour, I can touch this with no problem. It will still be warm, but not completely hot. And I can open this after like a long drive and still not get sprayed with coolant, because like I said, you can see it's cracked right here and right here. There's 3 cracks actually, 1, 2, 3. But when it's cracked, the coolant inside the radiator automatically goes into this tube and goes into the overflow tank. So there's absolutely no pressure in my radiator system at all. It's always 0. It's supposed to be 16 psi. But I did a pressure leak test, and yeah, the leak was coming from here, and it's obviously that was cracked. It's been like that for years, and so my car thinks it's overheating. It's on overheat mode, so it's always sending coolant in here, and it gets really hot in this. Since the pressure, there's no pressure, so the boiling point is lower, and the coolant would evaporate like crazy, and you can see coolant just dripping down onto the floor, like out of this top. And whenever I open this up after a car, it's like steamy. The radiator cap basically is a spring loaded, and once it reaches a certain pressure, when coolant gets hot, the pressure increases, and when it reaches a certain pressure, the spring compresses and it sends coolant into the overflow tank through this tube, and that's when it's in overheating mode. And That's why my car has been like that ever since, and now it's time to change. Alright, so take off your cap on the radiator and the overflow tank. Put a lot of cardboard underneath because it can get really messy. Your bucket, put it underneath the radiator. This is the drain plug for the radiator, vanilla looking color. The plastic wing nut. So you want to place the bucket underneath it to catch all the coolant that's going to come out. But just let it drain all the way out until it's not dripping a lot anymore. On manual transmission, the radiators have two main hoses. They're really big, it's easy to spot. This is the top one, and this is the hotter side. Underneath the car you have another one. That's the second one, this is the colder side. And you see the clip, loosen up the clip, slide it back, and remove the hose. Squeeze the clip, slide it back, and remove the hose. Careful with the hose, you don't want to put a tear on the hose or it will leak. Remove the hose. You can see that it's not dripping a lot anymore or is spilling out. And here's the one for the hose. Let's remove the rest of the radiator. You want to remove the radiator stay. It keeps the radiator in place. And then you're going to remove the reservoir tank. Then you're going to remove the tubing. You want to remove the upper hose. Like before, you want to loosen the ring. Slide it back. There's a connector wire for the fan, so you'll disconnect it. Alright, now you can pull the radiator straight up. This radiator is, believe it or not, has over 330,000 miles. That is incredible. So it really took a beating. It's no surprise that the neck cracked. You can see the fins right here. Little fins, they are completely destroyed. Completely. After 330,000 miles. I can safely say this radiator is very worn out. All the fins are just completely mashed up. And that's where it's used. And you can tell this is a single core. It's only one layer of fins. This is the new radiator. Fully aluminum, even the tanks are aluminum. No plastic on this radiator at all. Except for the wing nut right there, where the drain plug is. You can see the difference in the width. You see the difference? That's a single core, and the new one is a dual core, so it's wider. I'm mostly happy because everything's aluminum, even the neck. So the chances of the neck breaking again or cracking, like the old one, won't be nearly as likely. And what happens now is I either swap the fan from the old radiator and swap it over to the new radiator. So you just 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And there's the fan. This radiator is really old, so the inside is completely brown. It's so much buildup. Probably because of it's not diluted distilled water that was being used, so that could probably be the buildup. It is completely brown, and you can see the walls on the in the opening right there. It's like caked. So here's what I was saying about earlier: plastic into aluminum. The joints in between them can over time be cracked, so it can leak. And you can see here that the tank is plastic. The bottom tank is also plastic. And that one's all aluminum. I'm gonna swap the fan over. If you bought a new fan, like an aftermarket or a slim fan, you don't have to really remove the fan from the old radiator. You just install the new fan onto your new radiator. And this should be a kit that has brackets that allows you to attach the new fan into the radiator. But since this is the OEM fan for my old radiator, it should be a direct fit. On the old radiator, you're gonna see this rubber on the legs. Remove it from the old one and put it onto the new one. Here's the rubber legs. Put it on the new radiator.